Dear viewers, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening to you all. Welcome to our show, Scholar Alap with Dr. Nasrin Azhar. She is from Iran. Ladies and gentlemen, she is currently working as a senior lecturer and head of Department of Accounting and Management, Rassam Higher Education Institute. This is a female university in Iran. Ladies and gentlemen, she serves many institutions in various capacities. She's the director of an insurance agency for last 90 years in Iran. She's also a financial consultant for several firms in Iran. She also served as an adjunct lecturer for a few universities. Ladies and gentlemen, before she went up for PhD, she was a managing director for one of the company in Iran as well. So without further ado, would like to welcome Dr. Nasrin. Dr. Nasrin, welcome to our show, Scholar Alaf.
Good evening. In the name of God, Assalamu alaikum to Dr. Mahfuzur. Thank you for your invitation. I am thankful from you to provide me with this opportunity to share my experience in PhD journey with some graduate student or some other audience. It is my pleasure to attend in this event. I hope this live talk will be beneficial to all participants. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nasrin, for joining us from all the way Iran. And this is a Friday, a weekend for you, but yet you join us, and we really thank for joining us. Nasrin, you know, it was a very difficult time, and definitely I would say what a year it has been. And most of the events continue to run virtually, and definitely we're not seeing our students. Plus, most of the things we can't really continue doing face-to-face or in person, right? So, of course, there are difficulties in our life. So, we would like to know some of the things that usually we face while we do our higher education. So, you being a mother, you being a wife, you become, and also serving in different capacities. So, we are very, eager to know some of the things that how do you balance it. For the first thing that we would like to know from you is that being a married woman, having children, do you think all sort of things are barrier for doing a higher education like PhD? And how did you complete your PhD?
Okay. Let's start with when I graduated from high school. After high school, I was accepted by university in a field of science. After getting my bachelor degree, I was recruited as a staff in a university. I worked for some years until when I got married. After marriage, I became interested to study in business area, and in this way, my husband encouraged me a lot. Then I resigned from my previous jobs, and I decided to continue my education in accounting. I started from bachelor degree in accounting. At the same time, I started a new industrial business with my husband. Moreover, I was a director of an insurance agency office at the same time. Then I applied for the Master of Accounting in 2006. When I was studying in master's degree, Allah granted me a son. At the same time, I was studying, I was taking care of my sons and working in two business area in an industrial company and in a field of insurance. When I finished my Master of Accounting, my son was 3 years old. I gave up industry and I joined to two universities as a part-time lecturer. And during teaching for 3 or 4 years in university, I found that I am so interested to teaching, studying more, doing research, directing a student. That is why I decided to apply for a PhD degree. But this time, me and my husband prefer to apply for a foreign university. For example, one of the best university in Asia. Because we have our own reason to choose Asia rather than Europe and so on. When I searched for the best university in Asia, I found University of Malaya is one of them. I had traveled previously to Malaysia and knew some things about this country. It helped me to select Malaysia as a first option. I submitted my application. After some months, I got my offer letter from the Faculty of Business and Accountancy for the field of financial accounting and auditing. Then I came to Malaysia in 2013 with my little boy, and my husband could not come with us because of his job, unfortunately. I didn't get any scholarship. All tuition fees and payments were on my shoulder. I didn't used to work when I was studying in PhD in Malaysia. My husbands were supporting me and my son financially from Iran. Around 9 months, exactly, maybe around 1 year, I don't remember, I was alone with my son in a foreign country, Malaysia. Since I needed to spend much time my PhD journey and concentrating on my study and on my thesis, I asked my husband to come to Malaysia to join us and to support us emotionally and taking care of my little boy. Finally, he came and I could find more time to study. Anyway, Dr. Mahfuzun, as you know, maximum time for PhD was 5 years in University of Malaya, right? But unfortunately, I finished my PhD more than 5 years because the first reason was my thesis was so broad and my data collection took more than 1.5 years. The second reason was during my PhD, I faced with many problems and difficulties, and these problems pushed me to come back to Iran for 1 year, and I withdrew from 2 semesters from the university. After 1 year, again, I came back to Malaysia without my family for some months to meet my supervisors and get some comments regarding my, final thesis. I went also to Indonesia for international conference alone. After some months, I had to came back to Iran to stay with my family and finalize my thesis. And I submitted my thesis finally for examination and waited for viva voce. Eventually, I did my defense by Zoom program from Iran successfully. Alhamdulillah, it was great. And after graduation, I had 2 plans. Everybody after graduation had some plans. I had 2 plans. The first plan was joining university as an academician, which is my first interest. And the second plan was to apply for a postdoc in a foreign country. But when you are not single, you cannot decide alone. You have to consider your family member's situation and opinion. I have a son who is in high school now. I have to consider his future, and I cannot sacrifice others' life because of my own interests. That is why I have selected the first one, joining the university. I joined to Rassam Higher Education Institute in my hometown, which is close to Tehran. I am staying in Alborz province near to Tehran. I am currently a head of the Department of Accounting and Financial Management, and also teaching 6 courses during the semester. And also I am working on my papers. As I explained, my thesis has many opportunity, many publishing opportunity. That is why I'm working on my papers. About difficulties during my PhD journey. First of all, when you deciding to go to the foreign country to continue your education, you should know English language, at least in a higher intermediate level, you need. If you have a good English, there should not be much issue, okay? But the issue is not just language. I believe every student will face with some difficulties, and I was not exception too. Frankly speaking, I had many difficulties during my PhD journey. When you come to a foreign country alone, just by a 5 years old kid, imagine how much it is difficult to handle the issue, okay? For example, regarding finding a comfortable house or finding a good international school for your kids, preparing food, shelters, taking care of your kid, taking him to schools, and many other things to do alone. Even sometimes, as you remember, I think you have seen my son in Malaysia. I had to take my son to university to my all classes that I had. Do you remember?
Yes, yeah, I do. I do.
Yes, but it was okay. I didn't have any complaint because it was my own plan and my own interest. Uh, I believe that if you decide to do some things you are interested in, anything cannot stop you from continuing your way. Despite many issues, I didn't give up. Being a woman or being as a woman or having a children cannot stop you from studying in higher degree when you have an important objective, when you are strong and confident. Okay. um, I have heard the PhD journey is a lonely journey. It can be acceptable, yes, but it is lonely journey in studying. It does not mean you can do everything in your life alone without any support, or everything can be on your shoulder alone. No, I think, frankly speaking, I still believe that as a PhD student, you need emotionally and also financially support from one of your family members. You know, there is no differences between men and women in this regard. Even men,
Uh,
they also need support. Yes, if they want to do PhD and want to concentrate on their thesis or their study, there is no difference between men. For men, their wife should support them. Uh,
and Nasrin, if I may come in this, like this part of the world, in Asian countries, including Iran, Bangladesh, and many other countries,
yes,
when a female become a mother, and
yes, yes,
a mother, I would say a super mom, and then mostly they lose the dream of going for higher studies, but I mean, because of many reasons, right? And
yes,
of course, it is not easy to convince the family member that I'm going for overseas to do my master's or PhD, right? So if
yes.
you have some tips to share how to convince husband or family member to go for higher education, maybe many of our female audience are there today, that it will help them to convince their husband. Thank you.
Okay, it depends. It depends on personal characteristics. I can, if I have some tips to share with students, maybe it's not beneficial to other people's. Me and my husband are interested in studying both, but the his convincement was so easy for me. That is why um, different life have different idea, have different opinion, and different husbands has own his strategy. That is why how can I provide tips to help everybody to convince their husbands or
Right.
to convince their, but when your husband see you are um, multifaceted and you are working hard, you are uh, along with him in all difficulties in the life, when he see you are helping in, you are supporting in, you are supporting him in all fields, then uh, when you need support, he will sacrifice his life and support you. Okay, this is the issue. This is the two-way, two-way behavior.
Right, right, true, agreed. I do
Yes,
agree with you, Dr. Nasrin. We'll be just moving a bit about the academic journey. You had a wonderful, I would say, PhD journey. You did your PhD from a top class university, and of course, you remain in the academia, right? So
yes.
when someone remains academia, as an academician, so what are the challenges they face, do you think? I mean, becoming an academician and the remaining academician, are they two different things, or how do you gel them and balance it?
Okay. Uh, as my belief, PhD journey is not endless. When you do viva voce or when you do defend, you think everything's finished and you can take much rest, but it is not really so. A new journey begins once you get PhD degree. It is better to explain that it may not be a new journey. It is exactly following the PhD journey, so that you feel PhD journey has not been finished yet. You know why you feel like this? Because you immediately start doing research or writing papers in your research area. Then we can say the PhD is endless, is a liminal space where learnings prepares students transitions to an academia role. I have heard or I have read sentences about a definition of a PhD. It's an interesting definition of PhD. PhD is not is an academic that has learned more and more about less and less until
Yeah.
they know everything's about nothing. Have you heard it? Have you heard
Yes,
this?
yes, I do. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. See, PhD is endless. Most of the time, I think PhD looks like a river. It is my, it is my imagine. PhD looks like a river which flows to reach to a sea. When you move in this river and successfully reach to the sea, indeed, you have joined to an area all academicians are there. Okay, now considering this statement, this explanation, river reach to the sea, I want to ask you a question. When you reach to the sea, can you be unmoved? If your answer is yes, okay, I have to say that you will be sank at the bottom of the sea, and all your attempt in your PhD journey or whatever you have done during PhD journey will be wasted. Okay, do you agree with me?
Agreed.
Yes. Then my advice is, if you want to be alive in this sea and not go down in the bottom of the sea, you have to continue studying and reading. You have to start to write more papers in your field of study. You have to cooperate with your colleagues. You have to collaborate with other scholars and academicians in your field of studies. It
Right.
is my advice.
Right. Thank you very much. It was excellent. It was excellent. Dr.
Okay.
Nasrin, we also noticed that people do have a lot of hiccups, a lot of ups and downs during PhD. So what were the basic takeaways, the learning that you, apart from just research, what are the other things that you learned about life while you did PhD in UM?
Do you mean what I get during PhD? I got many experience and expertise when I staying at Malaysia and studying in PhD. I learned to be confident. I learned to be patient. I learned to be strong. I learned sometimes to tackle my old problems alone, and these are what I learned during the PhD. PhD is a long journey, and I don't like to say it's a there just we have some difficulties in PhD. We have some enjoyable times, and how we can enjoy from PhD depends on to which university are you studying, or which university you select, which country you are living, and it depends on supervisor. It depends on how much support do you have emotionally, financially, and I can say we have some enjoyable times in addition difficulties in PhD.
True.
It depends on many factors, especially depends on your personality. How can you enjoy from your time along with studying in PhD?
Right. Excellent. Dr. Nasrin, how you are teaching in Iran now? Is it 100% online, and how you are conveying or conducting your lectures now?
This is our classes are online, and we have some many courses in our university. I'm a head of the Department of Accounting and Financial Management. And most of the courses these students are passing during their studies are concept-based and are theory-based. They don't have much practical courses. That is why the university have converted to the online classes, and we are using some special program, and we don't have much issue in Iran.
So
But for
Nasrin,
for
sorry.
practical practice.
Yeah, when you
Okay.
started teaching online, I mean, when exactly we started from? Because of pandemic, right? Because of COVID-19, we all are having hard time. So when exactly we started teaching online in Iran, university?
From the beginning of the COVID, as I remember, May 2020, from the beginning, after some weeks, the universities accelerated their, network platform and digital um, tools, and they used, and we are doing that, and we don't have any problem. It is great now.
Right, great. So as you know that we all are getting used to with this new normal, having classes online. So do you see any possibility that university education will go 100% online anytime soon?
You mean about compare between online universities and conventional university, right?
Right. What I meant, what I basically, let me rephrase the sentence. What I meant is that, do you see any chances that all the universities will go 100% online one day, or anytime soon?
Okay, my first answer, to this question is no. We cannot say education 100% will be online based in future. It depends on some factors, But to answer better to this question, let us classify academic systems or seasons or period to three periods, I think. Pre-COVID-19 and during COVID-19 and post-COVID-19. What happened, what is happening, and what will happen, I think. As we know, in pre-COVID-19, we had some virtual universities in all around the world, which are still working and which are still teaching online. They had started from many years ago to change their education system from physical classes to the virtual or online classes. We know that, but they could do that, and they are currently continuing their virtual the virtualizations or their virtual classes. I mean, their system is not related to some critical situations such as COVID-19 pandemic or other things, because from the beginning, their objective have been an establishment of a virtual university, because they can present the list of courses which are concept or theory based and don't have any practical courses, as I think, or they don't need experiment, they don't need laboratory or practical courses. That is why they can also continue online searching in future. I believe virtual classes for those university have some advantages for founder of universities, also for their students. If they have a strong tools and if they have the good background, strong background of virtual environment for the online teaching and learning, there should not be an issue. And but about the critical situation we are in now, COVID-19 pandemic, what happened exactly? When COVID-19 appears, and based on some safety protocols, governments banned students and lecturers or academician commuting between universities and their house. In this situation, some universities started to think about using virtual environment and some tools and programs to hold the classes, to hold the theory-based classes, and to teach students and not stop, teaching. In this case, I have to say that the virtual education was not a new thing, but the important matter is to what extent or to what degree and how university are using online or digital tools and resources to teach and motivate students. Universities are trying their best to support their current and also prospective students. But we know that all teaching cannot be conducted online, Dr. Mahfuzur. We know all teaching cannot be conducted online. Some classes require the use of special instruments or tools that are in a lab, or such as some courses such as chemical engineering or medical engineering or mechanical engineering or medical courses. We need practical classes. We need on-campus classes.
Right.
Then there are some, yes, then we have some aspects of on-campus learning. We mean inside the university. Some university for some practical courses offer some practical experience to the students on campus, and have used all the required health and safety protocol to operate the labs. For example, in our university, we have some practical courses, but we classify students into some 5 members group, and used or implement requires health and safety protocols, and to hold the practical classes for students. Anyway, I say every day to my all students, in lockdown period, there is no choice. You have to learn how to use technology, how to use digital tools in your learning. You not only have to cope with some issue concerning online education, but also you have to deal with some difficulties, some personal health, or financial issues in lockdown conditions. My advice is we have to be strong in this time. I always say my students, concept-based courses and online classes have the same quality. I believe that have the same quality compared with physical classes, because I have seen most of the lecturers are working long time and are trying their best to use their entire potential. Believe me, trust me, Dr. Mahfuzur, and they try to transfer their knowledge and experience to students and to design effective classes while they don't see the students. They are not face to face to them, and they don't have eye contacts with them. But I think they are trying their best, and I think students. This is the advantages of the online classes. I think students have been more active than before and participate more during the session. And interaction between student and lecturer is higher in a virtual formal of the classes than the physical classes. Okay.
Dr. Nashville, when it comes to the virtual classes, the online classes, we need a platform, right? We need a platform. We need an infrastructure, internet connections. So many developing countries are struggling to have the platform, to have the online connections. Many countries in the remote areas, in a village, the students can't have internet connections. So when it comes to Iran, so where you position your country, how you are doing in terms of all sort of classes and everything?
In Iran, communication ministry has attempted a lot during these times, and has provided internet connectivity and network platforms throughout Iran. Also, some areas don't have the good internet connections or virtual environments, but most of the students are using a program in Iran, and there is not much issue regarding these matters, and internet connection in Iran is okay, but we have some problems to open some website. We have some restriction and limitation. It doesn't mean we don't have internet, strong internet connectivity, but it means we cannot open some website as rules in our country. But in some, some areas, some villages or some areas in harbor, they don't have internet or they don't have background of the network platform. They have to hold physical classes with yes, with implementing some rules for the controlling COVID-19. Okay.
Right, Nasrin, I definitely congratulate you all, because one of the country that has been hit hard by COVID-19 is Iran, and now it coming up, and they're still running, running all sort of things and classes through online, and your lecturers are doing great. So that is one of the very good news and good things that we all are
Yes.
looking forward to. Yeah, I feel this is a wonderful job.
Okay.
The thing that I would like to know a bit more about. The education system, because as we all are in this education industry, so some school of thought, some people believe that nowadays the companies or the firms, they're looking for skills. They may not be very interested about their degree. They want whether you know these things or not, whether you know how to make app, whether you know how to handle these, how to develop these and that. So they're more about skills. So do you think in any time soon, or is there any chances that the university education or the degree will be irrelevant and people will be go for more vocational studies or like skills?
You mean the conventional universities education will be irrelevant soon? Okay, I cannot directly answer to those questions. Let me start from the everybody knows that in not distant future, people will go for skill-based learning to get a good job. Yes, we know, but it doesn't mean studying at universities or at conventional universities, which teach to students some theory-based or, as we said, concept-based courses, is irrelevant to the employment by the industry. The comparison between university's degree and skills or expertise and practical experience, and to say that which one is necessary or which one is important for people to have to be hired or employed by industry, depends on which kind of job or profession or positions are you looking for, or which companies or organization is offering the job, and what kind of requirements those companies request for the employment. In this case, we have to classify companies based on their requirements or strategy for hiring. I mean, the first group can be some organization or companies prefer to hire new educated people without previous skills or working experience. How can be possible? Yes, possible, because they believe that if you are a recent graduate, your new degree may show that you have acquired the skills necessary for entering the job. I mean, the entry level job in your particular field. Okay, but they also believe that you can get more skills during the job quickly. Then employers, by spending little money and time, provide their employees, the new employees, with some training program. For example, as I remember, on the job training program. Okay, that is why it is possible. Some companies prefer to hire new educated people without previous skills, because they train the employees by themselves. There are also some other organizations that need educated people along with working or practical experience. Any work experience, we can say to students, or we can say to new graduated students, any work experience you have acquired along your study or after finishing your study can help you to get a good job. That is why everybody suggests new graduated students or new graduated people we advise all students to get a good job in future. Please to work part-time or even unpaid in your field of study, in your particular field during the college, to get the skills employees maybe need or prefer people to have to be hired. But as we know, some courses in university, as we explained before, have both courses, theory-based courses or theory-based learning in class and practical learning in industry. These people, these students or these people who passing these two kinds of learning or courses, these two groups, theory-based learning in class and practical learning industry, can be hired easily and faster than those who have studied just in theory-based courses. On the other hand, sometimes, you have several years working experience. It is okay, but your university degree is for several years ago. Then to be hired by an employer, you have to show the employer you have continued learning. Why? Because you have to show the employers, do you are you able to get new skills and promote yourselves in the compliance with industry development? Okay. And the third group, the third group or third organizations can be some companies prefer to hire people who are just expert in particular field or have more experience in the particular field and do not need university's degrees. This is there is a question here. How have they, we can ask ourselves, how have they acquired skills or expertise in particular field? Definitely, I think they have had learnings, or they have been particularly trained by an expert trainer. Okay, Dr. Mahfuzur, see, in these three types of companies, or in these three groups, we talked about learning, teaching, training, and all of them. The name of all of these words are education, right?
Yeah.
So yes, so we can conclude that any kind of education is required to get better job with higher positions and maybe with higher salary. In terms of money, education makes sense sometimes. And people say that the more you earn, the more you learn, the more you earn. Albeit there are some exceptions for this statement. For example, as you remember, we said that academicians are exceptions. They are highly educated and overworked and unfortunately less paid academicians. But they are exceptions, and we cannot say the more they learn and the more they earn. Okay. Therefore, as a conclusion for the answer to your questions, I can say there are trade-offs between university degrees and skills. For example, some people believe if they go to the university and spend more years there and pay tuition fees, after graduation, they have worked for several years to pay the money they have borrowed during, their studies. And they believe it can influence on their future career, and that is why they prefer to not to go to university and just getting to just go to some classes to get more expertise. As a consequence, I think the ideal mix of education and experience or skills can vary from the field to field. While a graduate degree is important for some jobs, it may be it may be of little value in others. Not exactly irrelevant. I don't agree with irrelevant.
Right.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Dr. Nasrin. It was excellent and absolutely right. I agree with you that definitely we need a skill, at the same time we need education. And
Yeah.
I also sadly agree that academicians are underpaid. So
Yeah.
this is not really, this is going on in everywhere.
Yes.
Dr. Nasrin, we also wanted to know a bit about higher education. As you did your higher education in foreign country,
Yes.
and you understood that the importance of English, right? But in Iran, you speak Persian, right? You speak
Yes.
Persian.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but when we see that many Iranians they speaks very good English. So basically, how do you learn the level of English that you are now speaking on?
You
What is the
know,
importance of learning English? These two things, a bit of, yeah.
okay, in we study English language from the first years of high schools. And most of Iranian people are expert in grammar. And we have four skills, right? Speaking, listening, writing, and reading. But most of the Iranian people are expert in reading and sometimes in writing. But in high schools, we have deficiencies in listening and speaking skills. That is why when students or when a person decided to go abroad to continue his educations or her educations, he can go to private institute and spend much time and money to learn English language, at least at intermediate level. Um, I'm not so expert in English, but I got, as I remember, I got around 7 point in IELTS. That is why I could apply for University of Malaya. 6 or 7 is okay. It is a higher intermediate level.
Right.
There should not be an issue. Okay.
Right, Dr. Nasrin, another issue, things that some of the peoples are highlighted in commenting as well. We are not very much aware about the what do you call higher education in Iran, whether they are taking international students or not. If there are any opportunities or for international students to study in Iran. So can you just highlight a bit of things that whether Iran takes international students and if there is any scholarship and all sort of things a bit?
Because all universities in Iran teaching in Persian language, that is why it is difficult, yes, to get the international student. Just some countries are the neighborhood of Iran and can speak Farsi or Persian language. They can apply for the universities in Iran. In our university, they can. We have some students from Afghanistan. Yes.
Oh, I
In our
see.
university, yes, we have, because they can speak and they
I
can
see.
do, yes, in Persian language. Okay.
All right. Right. Thanks, Dr. Nasrin. And we also would like to know a bit about being a mother. So you are being a mother, you are taking care of your children. At the same time, we noticed that you're not only teaching, but also a director of an insurance company or agency, right?
Yes.
So how do you balance your life? I mean, when it comes to teaching, and you are also you're also teaching part time in different universities. You're also doing a consultancy to some firms at the same time, taking care of the family, your kids. So how do you balance your life and remain, I would say, emerging academician that we'll all look forward to?
Okay. It means how can I make balance between my work and life, right?
Right.
Okay. Um, you know, the A majority of women academicians in Iran under work-life balance feel that they are overworked and underpaid. And they also believe that their careers have a bad impact or detrimental impact on their relationship with their friends and families. And most university women staffed with children believe that their family life hold back their career to some degree. While many of those who do not intend to have children, unfortunately, these days, and have made that decisions because of their career. And also many women academicians believe that they are paid less and have a worse work-life balance than most of the other their friends. And a large majority of them have considered having a higher education sector. Many of them say that their job restrict or limit their ability to see their friends, their family, and gets in the way of their ability to have a successful relationship with them. These I have heard a survey in Iran about women how to make a balance between their work and their life. The findings indicate that many women in academia are not able to find a satisfying work-life balance. However, it is interesting, Dr. Mahfuzur, despite this. They cannot make a satisfying work-life balance. It is interesting that there are still some staff would recommend these jobs to their children, and there are still most academicians and significant majority or percent of staff report working well despite their difficulties that they have during their works. For example, their contracted hours is very much and they get less salary and they're working during weekends and holidays sometimes, but they recommend these jobs still to their children. But as I believe, work-life is possible. Work-life balance is possible, but requires the belief that it can happen, it can occur, and specific plans. I think you should have to achieve this, the making balance between your work and life. Each university academician has different circumstances, and I think they must make his or her own plans accordingly. I believe there are some tips I can provide the audience. For example, managing your time, and we can consider proprietaries and doing teamwork. Share some of your task with some bodies you can trust on. For example, share some of your task with your family members, and you can give the responsibility to them in the house. For example, when I'm a mother, or when I'm a housewife, or when I'm working outside and inside the house, I can share some of my tasks with somebody I can trust them. For example, my husband, my son. And I recommend everybody should keep a space for him or herself. At least around 30 minutes in a day to plan for the tomorrow. I do that every day. And sometimes in the weekend, I keep a space for myself around half days, and to think about the future or my next week, and program and plan for myself. We don't have a choice. We are obviously living while we are working. and we are often working while we have to rest. We spending time with our families, and generally we have to enjoy ourselves. In other words, as you know, life is work. Everybody says life is work and work is life for most academic uh, staffs and for most academic women. And maybe this is an issue or cannot be issue. Okay, but you have to consider how much your job is important. But job, I think the job, it is not our entire life, but we have to set boundaries, and we have to understand when we are tempted to cross them, just how important the life portion of our work and life balance is. But for me, frankly speaking, I have not been able completely to set these boundaries and make perfect balance between my job as an academician and my life. As every day sometimes my husband says, when you are in PhD journey, we could see you more than you are a academician, women. As everybody says, I have a multifaceted woman. I am a lecturer of university, financial consultant of some companies, director of insurance agency office, and I am also helping my husband in his business work. And I am also as you told, I am also a mother, a wife. My work takes a lot of time from my life, and I just sometimes I just rest 3 or 4 hours at night. And
True.
this is not so good, but I don't have choice.
Yeah. I think Dr. Nasrin is goes for all the academician, regardless of the gender. Your husband or your family thinks they see less now. Similarly, I also face my wife feel like they can see me less than the time I was doing PhD. So I think
Yes.
I thought the PhD life was the toughest one in my life. But then when I started working, I started to feel that no, being an academician, being a supervisor, being a lecturer, at the same time being a father, husband, all sort of things coming together, being a
Yes.
good son, so I think is not easy. So definitely we also have to be thinking about all sort of things, right? Dr. Nasir,
Yes.
we are towards the end of our show. We'll be taking some questions from the floor, and I'll just put on the screen. If you would like to answer, please do so. One is Karishma Jamal. I think she is from Japan.
Okay, how many difficulties in Iran for a woman to find a job? Is there any restriction for women in job sectors? No, there is. In my field, because I am working in accounting fields. In my field, there is no difference between women and men. We have so many women are working in financial services company, and it depends on your skills, your ability, how you are strong, how you are confident, and it depends on your education degree, your working experience, skills, expertise, as we explained before. It depends on. There is no differences between men and women. I think it's okay.
We have some well wishes from others. Mira Hussein say, right. Okay, some of them asking about this one. But I think you already answered. Is there
Yes,
any scholarship in Iran, especially for
yes,
business graduate students? So even for the postgraduate, like masters and PhD, all the courses and the research are being taught in Persian, is it?
yes, yes, yes.
Ah, I see.
We have maybe 1 or 2 international universities in Iran. They are teaching in English language. They can search and find which one. I
Right,
cannot remember to explain here, but
right.
everybody are interested. They can search by themselves. Okay.
Do you have many private universities in Iran?
Yes, we have so many private
And
universities.
they're also running by, I mean, they're
Yes,
using Persian
yes,
as well.
yes. Our university, Rassam Higher Education Institute in Alborz province, have 2,000 students in different course.
Right.
Also, it seems to be a small institution, but it has 2,000 students.
Right. Right. So
Okay.
I think we all do have different way of learning, and different country has different way of progressing. And I'm sure in one day it will be open for everyone, and we'll have more international. Because even now, look at being a COVID. I think, of course, it has a downside, but at the same time it has some good side. It also shows some
Yes,
new angles, new
yes, yes,
norms, that we can collaborate, we can
yes,
run the courses online and make the university virtual. I think many things can be learned through this online, and through, I mean, the learning from the COVID-19. So Dr.
yes.
Nasrin, we are very happy to have you on this evening,
Thank
and we are
you.
very thankful to you that being in a weekend, a Friday night, you made it and came on air with us to discuss and shared many thoughts with. And we hope to have you on again some other day with some workshops. And
Inshallah.
note, and we wish you all the best for your research. You are very hardworking in a sense, also doing your projects. We,
Thank
we, we wish you all the best for your publications ahead.
you.
And
Yes.
so we thank you very much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers who are watching today, also would like to thank for joining us, and we'll be seeing you again next Friday night, 10 p.m. Malaysian time. Till then, stay safe, stay blessed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Assalamu
Thank you.
alaikum.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Okay. Bye.